In one of the most luxurious mansions, on the outskirts of the city, lived a rich family. They had everything you could ever dream of: expensive cars, chic jewelry, luxury travel around the world. But behind all this luxury, there was a secret that no one could even guess. One evening, when the whole house was plunged into darkness, a terrible event happened. All the family members were found dead in their rooms. Their bodies were found covered in blood, their faces distorted with horror. The police could not find any clues or traces that could point to the killer. But it soon became clear that there was something supernatural behind these horrific murders. Rumors began to spread that the house was built on the site of an ancient cemetery, and that the souls of the deceased were not happy that their place of rest was taken away from them. Living their wealth and luxury caused their anger, and they returned to take revenge. But despite all the warnings and legends, one desperate researcher decided to take a chance and spend the night in this abandoned mansion. He assured everyone that it was just a superstition and no ghosts existed. He came there with his equipment for detecting supernatural phenomena and installed himself in the largest room. At first glance, everything was quiet and peaceful, but as the night progressed, he began to hear strange sounds and see shadows that seemed to be moving for no apparent reason. At some point, he heard a piercing scream and felt a cold stream of air on his neck. In horror, he realized that he was not alone in this house. He ran out of the mansion, screaming in terror, and vowed never to return there again. His story became the subject of numerous conversations and disputes, but no one dared to go to check its veracity. Thus, the house on the outskirts of the city remained empty and abandoned, and its secrets continue to live in legends and horror stories, reminding everyone that even the richest and most powerful cannot protect themselves from supernatural vengeance. Once, a family of rich and influential people lived in a distant city. Their house was surrounded by a high fence and guarded around the clock to ensure the safety and comfort of all its residents. However, over time, the family began to feel the weight of their wealth. Luxurious fireworks on New Year's holidays and expensive dinners in three-star restaurants no longer brought them joy. Moreover, they gradually began to feel a loss of connection with reality, as if they were living in a golden cage, cut off from the real world. One evening, when the family members were gathered at the dinner table, they heard a strange sound coming from outside. It was the noise of gunshots and breaking glass. Panic gripped everyone. Desperately jumping out of the protected house, they saw a crowd of hungry, unemployed people besieging their estate. The rich people were shocked and scared. They had no idea that suffering and despair existed so close to their luxury and wealth. People chanted slogans about equality and justice, demanding that they share their wealth with less. The family realized that their safety and happiness were a deception. All their wealth and privileges turned into a curse. Their own greed and indifference to those in need led to retribution. The crowd besieged the estate deeper and deeper. The family was forced to run and hide, but nowhere was safe. Every step they took was accompanied by the threat and inevitability of a terrible fate. They were deprived of their wealth and privileges, left defenseless and vulnerable. Eventually, the family was discovered by the crowd and sent to a public trial, where they were sentenced. All their property was depleted and transferred to those who really needed it. Former rich people were kicked out of the city, left deprived of everything, and left to their own fate. Left without wealth and privileges, the former rich people were forced to start their lives all over again. They settled in a poor area, where now they had to fight for survival as ordinary people. Initially, this new reality was a shock to them. They have lost all their privileges, fame and comfort, which they used to take for granted. Overcoming the initial difficulties was not easy, but over time they began to realize their mistakes and greed that led them to fall. Former rich people began to learn from those who had previously been ignored. They joined local communities, helped those in need, and sought to make the world a better place. They realized that true power and wealth do not lie in money, but in the ability to help and influence the good of society. Over time, the former rich people have managed to regain their trust among those they once despised. They became a model of transformation and gave an example to people that it is always possible to change for the better. Their new status was based on merit and helping others, not on the size of the bank account. One day, they met a family member who was the sole survivor of an episode of fate that followed their loss of wealth. Their meeting was emotional and painful. The former rich people apologized for their greed and indifference, and the surviving family member realized that goodness and justice are much more important than material goods. The family was reunited, but now they no longer sought wealth and power. They became figures who used their experience to fight for justice and help those in need. Together they built a new world where wealth was distributed more evenly, and human support and compassion became the most valuable qualities. The story of the former rich people has become a reminder to everyone that true wealth lies not in material values, but in kindness of heart, justice, and willingness to help others. They were able to survive their fall and rise again, turning their wealth into a force for a positive change in the world. Once upon a time, a rich family of famous aristocrats lived in a distant manor, among dense forests and gloomy glades. Their castle was surrounded by high walls and secrets, and every corner reminded of the past, full of secrets and riddles. The night in the castle was full of ominous sounds and impenetrable darkness. There were whispers in the empty corridors and rooms, and the shadows of strange figures slid along the walls. The family crypt, a forgotten corner of the estate, kept dark secrets that could not be forgotten. One day, on a full moon, the youngest daughter of the family disappeared. Inscriptions began to appear on the walls in the palace, and after midnight, whispers came from all corners, as if calling for an unknown path. Fear seized the hearts of the family members. Their wealth and influence did not protect them from the dark forces that seized the estate. Over time, family members disappeared one by one, and the castle became more and more devastated. No trace was found, no traces, no evidence explaining the disappearance. The mystery of the family and their fallen fangs shrouded the estate as a gloomy patronage of death. One day, a young and brave researcher decided to solve the dark mystery of the estate of a rich family. He set out on a journey full of determination and perseverance to dispel the shadow of the mystery shrouding the abandoned castle. He made his way through the misty wilds of the ancient forest, bravely challenging the darkness and fear. Under the midnight sky, he stepped onto the threshold of an abandoned manor. In the hall of the castle, he was greeted by whispering shadows and vague outlines of ghosts, but he did not feel fear, but only a determination to solve the mystery that befell a rich family. He explored every nook and cranny, searched every room, and went all over the castle. Finally, deep in the crypt, he discovered a long-forgotten room where the family chronicle was kept. The old scrolls revealed a truth that had been silenced for centuries. It turned out that a long time ago, the head of the family concluded a dark pact to gain wealth and power. In return for his own children, he gave them to the power of dark forces. But when they tried to take his own life, he sealed his last child so that his soul would not fall into the hands of evil. The researcher freed the soul of the last child, long forgotten in the crypt, and now the shadow of the manor has disappeared. The castle has now become a symbol of liberation from the dark forces, and its history has become a warning for future generations. Now the castle has come to life with a new life, free from dark mysteries and terrible secrets.